And continuing the projection of the astral body, Sylvan, Muldoon and Hereward, Carrington. Page 15, Introduction. The astral body may be defined as the double, or the ethereal counterpart of the physical body, which it resembles and with which it normally coincides. It is thought to be composed of some semi-fluidic or subtle form of matter, invisible to the physical eye. It has in the past been spoken as of the etheric body, the mental body, the spiritual body, the desire body, the radiant body, and the resurrection body, the double, the luminous body, the subtle body, the fluidic body, the shining body, the phantom, and by various other names. In recent theosophical literature, distinctions have been made between these various bodies, but our present purposes we may ignore these distinctions as we speak of the astral body as some more subtle form, distinct from the organic structure known to Western science and studied by our physiologists. The broad general teaching is that every human being has an astral body, just as he has a heart, a brain, and a liver. In fact, the astral body is more truly the real man than the physical body is, for the latter is merely a machine adapted to functioning upon physical plane. But it must not be thought that the astral body is held to be the soul of man either. That is a mistake often made. It is said to be the vehicle of the soul, just as truly as the physical body is a vehicle, and constitutes one of the essential connecting links between mind and matter. To the materialist, of course, who regards mind merely as a product of certain brain activities, such a theory would appear superfluous and nonsensical. But the present book is not addressed to materialists. It is addressed to those who believe in the reality of certain supernormal phenomena, and in the theoretical possibility, at least, of the astral body. To all such students this book will, I am assured, prove a veritable mine of valuable and unique information. The doctrine. The astral body then coincides with the physical body during the hours of full waking consciousness. But in sleep, the astral body withdraws to a greater or lesser degree, usually hovering just above it. Neither conscious nor controlled, in trance, syncope, while fainting, when under the influence of an anesthetic, the astral body similarly withdraws from the physical. Such cases of withdrawal constitute instances of automatic or involuntary projection. As opposed to such cases, we place those of the conscious or voluntary projection in which the subject wills to leave his physical body, and actually does so. He is then fully alert and conscious in his astral body. He can look upon his own physical mechanism and travel about at will, perhaps viewing scenes and visiting places he has never seen before. Subsequently, he can verify the truth of these experiences by visiting the scenes or places in question. While fully conscious in the astral body, he seems to be possessed of an extraordinary supernormal power. He can at will return to his physical body, or may be drawn into it again automatically by reason of some shock, fright, or vivid emotion. The astral and the physical bodies are invariably connected by means of a sort of cord, a cable, along which vital currents pass. Should this cord be severed, death instantly results. The only difference between astral projection and death is that the cord is intact in the former case and severed in the latter. The cord, the silver cord spoken of in the Ecclesiastes, is elastic and capable of great extension. It constitutes the essential link between two bodies. The above is a general and very brief summary of the doctrine and teachings regarding the astral body and its projection. Now, although the literature regarding this subject is fairly voluminous, I have been able to I have been unable to find anywhere in it much material of scientific value. Above all, next to nothing of a practical nature. How to project the astral body. If such a body actually exists and can be projected voluntarily, as many individuals assert it can, why has so little practice advice and information ever been published regarding it? It is all very well to dwell upon the possible dangers connected with such a procedure. Every sensible person realizes that they may very well exist, but would be willing to try the experiment just the same. Nevertheless, it is next to impossible to obtain any practical and precise information from those individuals who assert they can project at will. And in this I feel sure psychic students everywhere will agree with me. Why should this be so? I quite agree with Mr. Muldoon in thinking that the reason for all this secrecy is not on account of the theoretical dangers involved, but simply because these self-styled teachers do not know. They know that astral projection occurs. They may have experienced it themselves, but the actual details of the process and how it is accomplished, this they do not know, and consequently cannot tell others. The great value of the present book consists in the fact that this information is given to the world for the first time, and I cannot but believe that we have here a document of the utmost value. Information from which psychic students have waited years for, and which might never have been given out had not a combination of fortuitous circumstances rendered its publication possible. It may therefore be of interest to the reader to know how the following book came to be written, and something of the author himself. Page 17. How this book came to be written. In my book, Modern Physical Phenomena, I had devoted a chapter to the experimental projection of the astral body, summarizing the work of M. Charles Lancelin, to be discussed more fully later on. This material I amplified considerably in a later book, Higher Physical Development. This dealt almost exclusively with the work of others, however, and I always felt that it was almost inadequate. It epitomized everything that I had enabled to unearth, however, dealing with this important subject. In November 1927, I received a letter from Mr. Sylvan Muldoon, in which he said, I have recently finished reading your volumes on the occult and the physical sciences. I was much interested in your chapter on astral projection, as I have been a projector for 12 years, long before I knew that anyone else in the world ever did such things. What puzzles me most is that you make the remark that M. Lancelin has told practically all that is known on the subject. Why, Mr. Carrington, I have never read Lancelin's work, but if you had given the gist of it in your book, then I can write a book on the things that Lancelin does not know. I have been wondering whether M. Lancelin is in fact a conscious projector. From what you have given, I have concluded either that Lancelin does not project at all, or that his subjects are not in the clear conscious state well exteriorized. If this is not reasonable, if M. Lancelin or his subjects were clearly conscious, could they not give every detail of the phenomenon? Of course they could, but they did not. Now, I have been all through this, and I know every emotion, every move, every last detail that takes place from clear consciousness in the physical out into the astral with that same unchanged consciousness and back into coincidence. But the thing I marvel at most is that so little is said about the astral cord, the very foundation of the whole phenomenon. Is it possible that none of Lancelin's subjects ever examined this cord, nor even saw it? Nothing is told as to how this cord works, how it stabilizes the phantom or throws it into instability. How large is it while the bodies are nearly in coincidence? How it decreases in size and resistance up to a certain distance, which I have measured exactly, and so forth. Lancelin says that the phantom appears as if rocked by the wind, but he does not say what causes this. Lancelin does not tell how to control the astral cord, the mechanism which is the vital factor. He says that the astral body emerges from the solar plexus, which is anything but true. The bodies separate at all places simultaneously. The cord centers at a given plexus, and the ideal spot is the medulla oblongata, which has direct control over the organs of the respiration in the oblivious physical body. Lancelin says nothing of suppressed desires and the condition of the heartbeat through the cord, nor how to stabilize the phantom after the exteriorization is accomplished. He says nothing of the form of the phantom takes, how it moves in coming out. A cataleptic state ensues while the phantom is under control of the subconscious mind and is still conscious. He has not told of the various degrees of sight and hearing in the phantom, nor how it travels, nor how it gets into a condition where it is helpless and unable to travel. The willpower part of the process is greatly overstressed. There are other ways of accomplishing this besides willpower, in fact, several other ways. And the good health idea is nothing short of a blunder. I say I can prove it, that the nearer dead a person is, the easier it is to project. I could go on telling you many more things about astral projection, but I suppose that after all was said you would reply, prove it. But it cannot be so readily proved. It would require treatises upon the subject. I once thought of writing a book upon the topic, but abandoned the idea when everybody told me that I was crazy and found that no one would pay any attention to it. Just the same, I have exteriorized enough to know that if you have given the gist of what is now known, then indeed there is much darkness upon the subject. I might add that I am a boy 25 years old, and that if you even read this letter and take it seriously, it will be an honour to me. It need hardly be pointed out that I realized at once that I had discovered someone possessed of a vast fund of most valuable information, and I lost no time in replying at length and in urging Mr. Muldoon to begin his book at once, which I promised to revise and edit and introduce. The following book is the result. I may say that Mr. Muldoon and myself have worked together upon it most harmoniously. He has covered many points and tried many experiments which I have suggested to him, and in every way demonstrated his complete sincerity and his scrupulous adherence to the truth. He makes no claims he cannot justify. He advances no theories which are not based upon actual experiences. If he does not know a certain thing, he frankly says so. The additional extracts from his letters, which we will go to page 39 to 44, will bring this out even more clearly, and will also furnish the reader much valuable material, not included in the book. I may add that the bulk of this work was written when Mr. Muldoon was so ill that he could not get out of bed, and was never certain that the next day might prove his last. If ever a man may be expected to be truthful and sincere, it would be at such a time, but the writer's truthfulness and sincerity are apparent in every line. I should like to draw the reader's attention particularly to the fact that no wild or preposterous claims are anywhere made in this book as to what has been accomplished during these astral trips. Mr. Muldoon does not claim to have visited any distant planets and returned to tell us in detail their modes of life. He does not claim to have explored any vast and beautiful spirit worlds. He does not pretend to have penetrated the past or the future, to have relived any of his past incarnations, to have read any Akashic records, to have travelled back along the stream of time and reviewed the history of mankind, or the geologic eras of our earth. He asserts merely that he has been enabled to leave his physical body at will and travel about in the present in his immediate vicinity, in some vehicle or another. while fully conscious. This is perfectly rational and is precisely what we should expect on the theory that these trips are actual experiences. Assuming that such entire entity as an astral body exists and can at times be voluntarily detached from the physical body, everything else which is said falls naturally into place and is precisely what might be expected to happen under such circumstances. And we will continue to the difficulty of proof, which is page 20 in the next video.